stretching and a little bit of engagement through those core muscles. What we suggest is that you have a mat on the floor, a little head cushion. You can just place that under your head just to keep your head in a good neutral spine position, and that's all you really need. If you haven't got a mat, don't panic, just use a towel on the floor. Now we're going to start the first class in standing, and we're just going to get ourselves into a really good, nice postural position to start with, and this is really your warm-up before we go down onto the floor. Okay? So we're going to just take our feet hip distance apart, and quite a nice way of doing that is just taking your feet together, placing your heels out to the side, and then following with the feet, the front of the feet coming out, so that takes you into that hip distance position. Just make sure that those knees are sitting really nicely over those middle toes, and that your hips and your pelvis are looking forward so you've got no rotation. And just make sure that your feet, the weight through your feet is nice and even on both sides. Really important that your shoulders are nice and relaxed, not up here by your ears. And all the time I want you just to think that your head is like a helium balloon. So you're getting that feeling that your head is floating up towards the ceiling. You get that really nice and long feeling through the back of your head and neck. And we're just going to get you just to tuck your chin in very slightly, and that will help you lengthen that head even more. Really nice to think about your breathing and start to take some really nice big deep breaths in and out. And really think about when you're breathing to get that feeling of your rib cage moving nicely in and out, and that we're using those diaphragm muscles as we breathe. So all our breaths aren't short and from our neck. We're really getting that really nice movement through our rib cage as we inhale and exhale throughout the class. So to start with, we're just going to find that spinal neutral position. So spinal neutral is all about where we stand whilst we're doing our exercise classes, and when we stand and we get that feeling of working through those core muscles, we need to just find that spinal neutral. I'm going to just turn sideways on for you. So to find our spinal neutral, the best way is just to tilt your pelvis a little bit backwards, and then just to tilt your pelvis a little bit forwards. And then very slowly just to start to make those movements a little bit bigger. So we go back, and then we go forwards. And then we're going to go back as far as we can go, so it's just like we're flattening our spine. And then we're going to go forwards as far as we can, so we get that nice arch through the spine. And then we're going to find that midpoint between those two extremes of movement. And that is your spinal neutral position. You're going to get that feeling of wearing a low slung bell. I'm just going to get that feeling of just pulling in a couple of notches on that low slung bell. So we just start to engage through those deep tummy muscles. I want you to also think about trying to engage through those pelvic floor muscles. So getting that feeling of really pulling up nice and gently through the pelvic floor, and then really just gently engaging through those deep tummy muscles. Quite nice at this point to just get a little bit of engagement through your glute muscles as well. So we start to get that really nice stable feeling all the way around through that middle area. So important that those arms are nice and relaxed, as we said before, those shoulders well away from your ears. So let's just start some nice easy movements. We're just going to turn our head one way, so we get that really nice stretch into our neck. Try and take a nice big deep breath in and out as we come back to centre. Then we're just going to turn our head nice and easy around the other way. And then come back to centre. Good. We're going to take our chin to our chest, and we're slowly going to start to get that feeling of rolling down segment by segment through our spine. Bottom lifts up towards the ceiling. We just take those hands down towards our feet. We don't need to go too far to start with. Start to feel that nice stretch into the back of your legs. Breathe in, and then breathe out as you walk your hands up those legs. At this point, tuck your bottom underneath you. Get that feeling of stacking each little vertebrae, one on top of each other. Link those thumbs together, come up. Get that really nice feeling of extension a little bit through the spine as we reach up. And then those arms are slowly going to come back down. As we get that feeling of our shoulder blades sinking down in towards the middle of our spine. We're going to breathe in, and then as we breathe out, that chin goes to our chest again, and we're going to get that nice feeling of rolling down through the spine again. So this is really nice to help mobilise through the spine, help us get a little bit more flexibility in up to the ceiling, get that lovely stretch. Arms come down, slowly out to the side. As we do so, we get that nice feeling of our shoulder blades sinking down in towards the middle of our spine. We're going to do that once more, so our chin goes down to our chest, get that feeling of rolling down through the spine. Hands can go down a little bit further this time, down towards our toes. Let your head go heavy. Breathe in, breathe out, roll yourself back up. Tuck that bottom now underneath you, link those thumbs as we come up. Open up through the posture and reach up. Breathe in, breathe out, arms come down slowly. Remember those shoulder blades sliding down in towards the middle of the spine. Just make sure we're still getting that engagement through those deep tummy muscles. Our bottom muscles are activating and engaging a little bit, and we're getting that feeling of pulling up through our pelvic floor muscles. Good. Hands are going to come out in front of you, and we're just going to work on a bit of rotation. So we know in our golf, our rotation is really important. Elbow comes out high. As we rotate, we follow our fingertips with our head. Breathe in, breathe out to come back. Palms come back together, and then we slide the arm, just like a bow and arrow effect. Elbows high, hand comes to chest, and then we rotate, and we follow our head, comes round to our fingers. Get that lovely stretch. Breathe in, breathe out, come back to centre. Keep going with this. Now remember, as you're doing this, it's really important to get that really nice stretch through that middle part of your spine. Breathe in, breathe out, come back to centre. But I want you to try and keep your tummy button looking forward. So we're just trying to get and isolate that movement through your thoracic spine. Take your head with you. Breathe in, breathe out. Come back to centre. Lovely. And again. Where don't you go? Nice. We're going to do one more of these. Last one. And we go, get that lovely rotational feeling. Open up. Breathe in, breathe out. Back to centre. Slide back. And relax those arms down. Make sure your shoulders come well away from those ears. Take those feet a little bit wider and feet slightly pointed out. We're just going to come down into a small squat. Now really important as you're squatting that those knees go over your middle toes. We're just sitting down nicely into that squat, and as we come back up, we're getting that feeling of squeezing up through the bottom. Really thinking now about that helium balloon floating back up towards the ceiling. So we're breathing in and we're breathing out. Lovely. This time we're going to hold it down there, and we're just going to go onto our toes. So we're working a little bit more through our balance and working through those core muscles as we slowly come up. We're still on our toes. We take those hands up, take those elbows wide, get a nice stretch into the front of the chest, into those shoulders. Stay on your toes if you can. Reach up, come down, and heels come down to the floor. Lovely. Into that squat, come up. Let's do a couple more. Good. Keeping those knees pushed out over those middle toes. And down you come. Onto those toes. Come up. Keep on the toes. Keep strong. Arms come up. Elbows out wide. Breathe in, breathe out. Come up. Relax down. Heels come down to the floor. Perfect. Okay. Bring those feet together, and let's just start a little bit of work on our balance. So your balance is really important when you're playing golf, because obviously you're transferring your weight from one side to the other. So we're going to take our weight onto one leg. As we do so, we need to really get some activation through that bottom muscle so we're not falling to that side. We're going to slowly bring that knee up on the other side. Try not to fix with those shoulders. Keep those shoulders down. From that knee flex position, we're just going to push that leg behind us, and as we come forwards, take the arms forwards too. We come back up into that knee flexion. It's really good. And then we push away. Good. So this is hard work on that leg that you're standing on. Having to really work quite hard through that balance. Breathing in, breathing out. Lovely. Good. Got one more. So that knee comes up. We push away, arms come forward. Toes go back onto the floor. And we're going to come up into our high lunge. So we've got a bent knee at the front, and we're still on our toes at the back. We're sitting down nicely into that. Palms come together, elbows out, and again we're going to work on that rotation. Good. Back to centre, and then we rotate the other way and take your head with you. Looks really easy, but it's quite hard to keep that balance. You're doing really well. Stay tall. Nice. It's really good. Breathing in, breathing out. Now take this elbow down onto that thigh. This hand comes onto the side of the spine. Elbow looks up towards the ceiling as we look round to that elbow. So we're getting that nice stretch into the spine. Good. Back to centre. Come up tall. Good. Woo. Come forwards. So we get that nice flexion through the spine. And then really open up. So we get that nice stretch to the front of your chest. So we're closing down. And we're opening up. That's really good. Close down. Open up. Lovely. Last one. Good. Open. Come back to that tall moment. Come up. Knee comes up. Lovely. Now I'm just going to slide that foot down towards the ankle. Then we're going to slide up. I'm just going to take that knee out to the side. So get that nice stretch into our hip. Come back to centre. Slide down. Good. So we're really working quite hard now through that bottom muscle. Come out. Good. Centre and down. On the next one, we're going to hold. So we go out to the side, just get that little stretch into the hip, thumbs together, and see if we can come up nice and tall. That's really good. This is hard work. Hold yourself there. Relax down through the arms. Good. Slide that leg down. And just have a little march out through those legs. Hard work through that bottom muscle. And we're going to change legs. So we'll take the weight onto the other side. Get yourself nice and tall. Slowly starting to really work through that bottom muscle so you're not falling to that side. Come into some flexion with that knee. Arms come forward as that leg goes behind. Good. Knee comes up. Breathe in. That's lovely. Breathe out. Good work. And again, scoot that leg back. Bring that knee back up. All the time taking that weight through that leg, working through the bottom, coming up nice and tall in the middle. Lovely. On this next one, we're going to hold that leg behind us. So that the toes go down to the floor. We're in that big, nice tall lunge. Hands come up. We're going to do our rotation again. So we come around. Breathing in, breathing out. Just rotating through the top half. Take your head with you. Good, doing really well. Keep going. Round you go. Centre. Round. Good. Now take this elbow or the forearm down towards that thigh. Good. Reach up. Excellent. And if you're not sure what side you did last time, you can always switch over, okay? So if you feel that you did that side last time, just make sure you're doing the other side this time. Get that nice rotational feeling. Come back up. Woo-hoo. Get your balance. Get that foot back. Make sure you're grounded. Come round. And then open. That's good. Flex. And then open to get that really nice stretch through the middle part of your spine. And then opening up through the front of your chest. It's really good. Breathing in. Breathing out. 2 more. Good. Last one. Come on, nice and tall. Bring this knee into some flexion. So we come up, slide that foot down, the inside of that leg. Come up, get that really nice little squeeze of that hip outwards. Come back to centre. That's good. Out we go. So we're going to finish off the warm-up with a nice roll down. Chin goes to chest. We roll ourselves down. So you can get our hands down a little bit further this time. Get that lovely stretch right into the back of those legs. Breathe in, breathe out, roll yourself back up. Thumbs move together. We get that lovely stretch out, just like we did at the beginning. And then our arms come out to the side. Slide those shoulder blades down. Breathe in, breathe out. Well done everyone, you made it through the warm-up.
Come down onto your mat. And then we're just going to have a quick setup of where we want to be in this position. So feet need to be hip width apart, so toes out and then those heels out behind. Knees straight up to the ceiling. And then we're just going to take the attention around to our centre and our core muscles. So imagine that pelvis is really level. So those little bony parts that are right at the front are facing straight up to the ceiling and in the same line as those knees and those toes as well. I'm going to imagine that you've got that big belt coming around and in towards the middle of your tummy, and then you're just going to tighten that belt up. So you've got a little bit of a movement, a bit of flicker of movement right in the deep core muscles, and then from there relaxing in the ribs and the shoulders, so you've not lost your neck. You're nice and relaxed down. Good. We're going to just start off with our little pelvic tilt. So we do this quite a lot in our classes. It's really nice for the lower back. You're just going to try and flatten the back into the mat by tilting that pelvis underneath you, and then you're going to come back the other way so you get more of an arch in that back as well. So you can make these movements really big just to begin with. It's quite nice for engaging and getting those core muscles working as you're coming through and flattening that back a little bit more. Obviously we don't do our whole class like this, but just to get that mobility in the lower segments of the spine, just above the pelvis. Good, so just keep rocking forwards and backwards. You can make it as big or as small as it feels comfortable. And then on the next one, we're just going to use this to help us find our pelvic neutral. So if you come all the way up, so you're really flattening that back, and then try and find that position that you're in standing. So everyone's going to be different. Some people have more of a gap underneath their back than others. Other people are more flat to the floor. So wherever your natural sort of standing position would be, we're going to come to that position, and then again think about re-engaging those core muscles. So that little flicker of movement right in those core muscles to help support the pelvis through the next few exercises that we're going to do. So just to start off with, we're going to take one knee out from the midline. So one knee is going to come away from that parallel position and then come back up to the top again. And then the other one's going to come out to the side and then up to the top again. So you're just alternating legs. And this is a really nice one because it starts getting a bit more movement into the hip socket, into the hip joint, so that ball and socket joint. But we're going to have to use those core muscles to really stabilise through the pelvis. So if you pop your hands right on top of your tummy, and as you let that leg float out and back in again, make sure there's no movement in that tummy or in those hip bones. So just with the hands on top, you get that feedback of what's going on in there a little bit more. The only other thing to watch is that other leg. So as you're taking one leg out, make sure that this other leg isn't wobbling around as well. So you're really still everywhere else other than just that knee coming in and out. Good, so this can feel a bit easy. Obviously you need to have the concentration there to keep everything really still, but muscle wise, most people find that this is okay. So we are going to make it a little bit harder. So this was just really to get that feeling of the pelvis staying really still. We're now going to go into our tabletop. So you're going to bring one leg up, just, I call this 90-90-90. So you've got 90 degrees in the hip, so that knee's right on top of that hip. And then the foot's hidden right behind the knee, so you've got 90 degrees in the knee as well. Good, we're just going to come up to this position and then take that leg back down to the mat, but no movement in the knee. It's just a hinging at the hip. And then we're going to bring the other leg up into tabletop. And then again, so you've got that really nice 90-90-90, so you've got 90 degrees in the hip. Straight on top of that hip is that knee, and then right behind that knee, that foot's hidden. And then we're just going to float this leg down to the mat as well. Still really thinking about those core muscles. So you can still have those hands right on top of the tummy, just as we go into this next exercise. You're going to bring one leg up into tabletop, float it back down onto the mat, nice and steady, and then swapping over, bring the other leg up into tabletop and back down. So now that we've got that longer lever of the leg, it's going to be a little bit harder to keep that tummy really, really still and keep that back really nice and supported. So no movement in the tummy, just taking one leg up and back down and the other up and back down. Good. So we're going to start working up into our double tabletop. So it's really important you have this nice and controlled and the core muscles working in that spine in the neutral position. So then when we come up into double tabletop, so one leg coming up and then the other one coming up, there shouldn't be any movement in that back. So if you've got that nice natural little gap under your back, it should still be there as you lift those legs into tabletop. We're going to hold it here, just making sure that we're in a good position. And then from here we're just going to float one leg down and back up, and the other leg down and back up. Good, so keep going with that, still making sure the tummy's really still. So even though it's getting a little bit harder now, still keeping that pelvis really, really still and controlled and supported by those core muscles. Good, keep it going. Keep the breath nice and easy. Good, so you should definitely feel it working in those tummies now. I'm going to do one more each side. Good, and then float one leg down to the mat and the other. Lovely, we're going to go into our 100. So like I said, lots of core work today. I'm going to lift those hands down on the mat and then try and reach down towards our toes. And that's just going to bring the upper body off of the mat. So you want to keep nice and long in the back of the spine. Really reaching down through those hands, through those two fingertips, down into those feet. And we're just going to start pulsing those hands down. So these are our 100s. Good, so really thinking about that crunch in the middle of the tummy. So the lower ribs really coming down and shortening that distance between the lower ribs and the hip bones. Good. Keep the breath nice and easy. So breathing in for 4 and out for 4. Good. Still trying to keep that spine in neutral. So not letting the back fall into the floor. Good, we're going to go 3, 2, 1. Float those hands all the way over the top of the head. Have a little bit of a stretch out, so it should feel quite nice in the front of the tummy. Good, we're going to lift one leg up into tabletop. We're going to float those hands all the way back down and over, and then really reaching down towards those feet again, and then pulsing down again. So it's the same thing, you've just got that one leg in tabletop now. Good, so keep going again, keeping the breath nice and easy. So breathe in and then out. Good. Also on the breath out, it makes it a little bit easier just to really control that crunch through the tummy. So you're going to go 3, 2, 1. Bring the hands all the way over the head. Have a little bit of a stretch out, float that leg back down to the mat. And then we're going to bring the other one into that good tabletop position. Good, so core muscles engaged, re-engage those core muscles. Bring those hands back up and over the head, and then reaching down through the tummy, through those fingertips, and then pulsing down again into the mat. Good. Keep breathing, lengthening through the back of the neck, and then just have a little check that you can't see that foot. That foot should be hidden right behind the knee if you're in that good tabletop position. If you need to support your neck in this position, then you absolutely can. It doesn't actually take anything away from the core muscles if you put one hand behind the head and pulse the other. So from this side, it looks like this. You're still going to be using those core muscles, it just means that you get a bit more support through the back of the neck. Okay, we're going to go 3, 2, 1. Bring those hands up and over the head. Good. This time we're going to bring the other leg up into tabletop as well. So we're going to stay here, nice neutral spine. Core muscles engaged, and then bringing those hands all the way back up and over, and pulsing again down. So this is really tricky. So if you want to bring one leg down and come back into that single tabletop, then that's absolutely fine. Good, keep pulsing down with those hands. You can do it. You're almost there. Keep breathing. Here we go, 3, 2, 1. Bring those hands over the head. Those core muscles should still be working to support those legs in that tabletop position. And from here, we're just gonna try and touch the wall underneath you and then come back up. So it's like this little light switch on the wall just underneath. Good. So nice neutral spine, don't let that back come off the mat too much. Really feeling it in those core muscles. The lower down you go to the mat with the leg, the harder it is. If you want to, you can just reach up a little bit further towards the ceiling. That makes it a little bit easier. So just find where you can control. Good, keep squeezing through those core muscles. Come down if you need a rest. See if you can do 2 more. So 1 more each side. Good, we're going to float one leg down onto the mat and then the other. And then you're going to stretch those legs out underneath you. So you get a good stretch all the way through the front of that tummy. Good. Good, right, we're going to do one last exercise. So we're going to go back. Well, you can either do this in 2 ways. You can either keep the feet on the mat, come up onto your toes, and then we're just going to take the knees over to one side. So knees together, over to one side, and then over to the other side, really using those core muscles to bring those legs back each time. Or you can do the same exercise but take it up a level. So bring those legs up into tabletop again, nice and controlled, and then take the legs over to one side, so knees together again, and then over to the other side. So completely up to you which one you want to do. This is really nice for, again, those core muscles, but also just a little bit of mobility of that lower back as well. Good, keep it going, nice and easy with the breath again. So breathing in as you come over to one side, and breathing out as you come into the other. The further down you take those knees to the floor, the more you're going to have to work through those core muscles to bring them all the way back and up and over to the other side. So just as far as you can control. Try and stay nice and light through those hands so you're not pushing really hard into the floor. You should be able to not have those hands on the floor as well. So nice and light with those hands. Good, we're going to do 1 more each side. Good. Last one. And then you can hug those knees in towards your chest. You've got a little pillow at home, you can just even fold that in half and use it as it is. Nice long arm underneath. Pillow just between your ear and that underneath arm. And we're going to start with our clams. So feet are going to be in line with the rest of the body. Knees just in front, but not too short with those legs. So keep them nice and underneath you. We're just going to start with those little clams. So lifting the top leg off of the bottom leg, just that knee, opening up. I'm going to start going with this. So you want to be feeling this in that top bottom cheek. So really squeezing at the end range of wherever your knee comes up to. So it doesn't have to be a really, really big movement. Just be really small, as long as you're getting that muscle activating in the back of the leg. Good, keep it going. Squeezing in the back of that bottom. And then also thinking about squeezing your feet together. So sometimes when you squeeze your feet together, it makes you push even more through the back of that hip as well. Good, so hopefully you should start to feel it. If you can't, make sure that the top hips are right on top of your bottom hip. So to lift that leg up, you're not opening up through the top hip as well. You're keeping that little bone at the front of your pelvis straight forward. No movement, and then just rotating the top of that leg in the hip socket. Good. On the next one, we're going to hold at the top and then we're going to do some little pulses here. So this time we're pulsing, same movement, squeezing in the back of the hip to pulse up, and no movement in that pelvis, so the little bony part in the front of that pelvis stays super straight to the front. Good, and now you're definitely feeling it in that bottom cheek. Keep going, nice little squeezes right in the end range of wherever your movement goes to. I'm going to go 3, 2, 1, lower that leg down. And I'm going to bring both the legs out in front of us a little bit more. So now you're in more of a seated chair position. So the knees are right in front of those hips. I'm going to lift that top leg off the bottom leg. Flex the toes up towards you so you've got a nice flex foot. And then we're going to push that leg down and away, pushing the heel into the wall below you, and then coming back up into that start position. So with this one, we normally say, imagine that leg's just running along the tabletop, so it's nice and level with the floor. Good, really squeezing that same muscle that you could feel before. Thinking about lengthening the heel away at the bottom, and everything else staying really, really still. So from belly button up, there's no movement. Just that lower part of the body working. Good. On the next one, you're going to push down, and then we're going to go to that cycling motion. So you're going to bring the leg up, slightly further up than that other one this time. Push slightly forward, and then just bring that leg ever so slightly behind you. So you're going to get more of a squeeze in those glutes as you bring that leg behind. And then bring it all the way back up. So nice smooth round movements, like you're half on the bike. So just that top half cycling forward. Keeping those toes flexed all the way up towards you. Good, nice and still in the pelvis and through the core muscles. So it's almost like you're lengthening that top hip down and away from you as well, so you're not collapsing down into that waist, into the floor, into the mat. Good, we're going to do 2 more, so that's 2, 1, and then on the next one you're just going to bring that knee up, place it over the top of the other one, and then have a little bit of a stretch. So you should definitely be feeling it in the top of that bottom now, so you can give it a little bit of a massage if you need to. Give it a little bit more of a stretch, so the further you bring that knee and push that hip down, the more of a stretch you're going to get into those glutes. Lovely. We're going to bring everything back to that start position, so knees down a little bit further. We're going to go back into our clams, but this time we're going to lift the feet off too. So we're doing the same climb exercise that we started with, only those feet are just hovering off the floor. So even now, squeezing those feet together, it's going to keep you a little bit more steady. Opening up that top knee. Have a little bit of a gap between the knees, and then bringing it back down again. Good. Still lengthening that top hip away, using those core muscles to support the pelvis and keep everything else really, really still. Good. Nice and relaxed in the upper body. Breathing in now. Nice and smoothly with the movement. Good, and then on the next one we're going to hold at the top. We're going to start pulsing that top knee. Good, so this is really hard to keep that underneath leg really still. So you're going to have to squeeze through your core muscles. Really try and just work into the top movement, and again if you squeeze your feet together a little bit more, it helps keep that leg still. Good, we're going to go 3, 2, 1, bring everything back down onto the mat, and then we're going to stretch everything out really super long. So both legs are out straight, hands nice, fingertips reaching up above you, and then toes reaching down. Make sure both legs are the same length, so you not let that top leg come shorter than the bottom one, and that's just going to mean that everything's nice and on top of each other. And then we're just going to lift one leg up. We're going to bring the other leg up to join it, and then we're going to bring both back down. You can rest your fingertips of that top arm onto the floor if you need to, nice and lightly through the fingers. Good, really squeezing those inside thighs as you come up. So always think of the inside thighs touching before the feet. So even though it's your feet that are really doing the most movement, all of that movement is coming from the inside thighs, a little bit higher up in the legs. Good, keep it going nice and easy with the breath. Right, this is the last exercise we're going to do on this side. Last one we're going to hold at the top. Squeeze those inside thighs together. Squeeze, squeeze, lowering down nice and gently. And then we're going to do all the same on the other side. So you can just bring your, if you're using a pillow, bring that pillow over. Get yourself all set up on the other side. So nice long arm underneath. Feet in line with that top arm and the whole of our body. And then top hip leveling down and away from us. To get that little bit of light shine through underneath our bottom waist. And then we're going to go into our clams again. So you're going to come up and back down. So this is our first set of clams. So we're going to keep those feet on the floor, still squeezing together. And hopefully in a little bit you're going to start to feel it in the back of that hip. So again, you can actually put the hand on the floor if you want to, or keep it on top of that hip, making sure it's staying nice and still. Squeezing those feet together, keeping that hip bone facing straight forward. Good, really squeezing at the top of wherever your movement goes. So even if it's a really, really small movement, really squeezing in that bottom at the top of wherever you get to. Good, next one we're going to hold at the top. We're going to go into those little pulses. So again, a little bit easier than when we've got those feet up off the mat. So really squeezing into the back of the hip, using the core muscles to keep everything else nice and steady. Breathing in and out. Sunbathing from the waist up, and all the work coming from those legs. Good. And go 3, 2, 1. Lower everything back down into the floor, and then we're going to bring those knees up a little bit further. So again, it's like that chair position. So 90 degrees at the hips, and then 90 degrees at the knees. And we're going to lift that top leg off that bottom leg, flex the toes up towards us, and then push down and away, and back up, just in level with the other leg again, and then down and away, and back up. So really level with that leg, spirit level right on top, between the thigh and the shin, and that bubble on the spirit level isn't going to tilt one way or the other, really parallel with the floor. Good. Lovely. And then on the next one, we're going to take those little bicycle motions. So up, just above that underneath leg, pushing your waist slightly further forward this time, bringing that leg so slightly behind you, really squeezing that bottom, and then bringing it back up. So nice smooth round movements, really squeezing behind and coming back up. Good. Pelvis really still, using those core muscles still to keep you nice and supported. Smooth with that leg, just cycling nice and easily forward. Really feeling it in that bottom. Again, pelvis really, really still. We're going to do 2 more. 2, and last one. 1 more, push down, and then we're going to bring that leg all the way up, over the top of the other one, and again, a little stretch into the glute and the outside of that hip. So again, bringing that leg a little bit further up for more of a stretch, pulling that hip back. And again, you can give yourself a little bit of a massage into that hip as well if you want to. And then when you're ready, coming back into our clam position, so bring those feet a little bit further back. This time we're going to bring the feet off the floor, squeezing those ankles and feet together. Pelvis still, core muscles working, back into that clam. So bring that top leg off the bottom leg, and back down. Good. Sending that top hip down and away, so you've got that space in the underneath waist. Good, and again, it doesn't have to be a big movement. It's more about what you're feeling and what muscles are working and what it looks like and how much you're moving. Good, make sure the hips stack right on top of the other one. Lifting through those top fingertips. And then spinning through the pain of that top hip. Good.
On the next one, holding at the top, you're almost there. Holding at the top, and then those little pulses into the top of that movement. Again, much harder because everything else is going to want to move as well. That bottom leg's going to want to move. Trying to keep it all still. Squeezing those feet together. Right to the end of that movement. Good. 3, 2, 1. Lowering everything back down into the mat. Good. Very last exercise for our glutes and our legs. So you're going to lengthen everything out away from you. So you're in one nice, really long line. Find your balance here. If you need to, you can pop that hand down just in front of you on the floor. You're going to lift the top leg up, lift the bottom leg up to join it, and back down. Lift the top leg up, bottom leg up to join it, and then back down again. Good. And down. All the way up, and back down. Good. Trying to keep everything stacked on top of each other. And again, really squeezing those inside thighs. So this is more about those inside thighs than those feet and those ankles. Your whole leg's moving nice and straight. Keep lengthening them both down and away from you. Good. Last one, we're going to hold at the top. Hold it there, squeeze those inside thighs. Squeeze, 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 squeeze those legs together nice and long, and then lowering both back down. Lovely. We're going to finish with a little bit of a stretch. So just rolling yourself onto your front, pushing up with your hands, and then we're going to sit all the way back onto our heels if we can. Lengthening those hands out in front of us. Good. Nice deep breaths in here. So breathing in and breathing out. Good. Let your head be really, really heavy. You're going to take those hands all the way over to the left side, and then just drop that right hip off of those legs. So this is going to get you a little bit more of a stretch into that hip where we'll just be working really hard. Good, deep breath in here, and breathing out, and then bringing those arms all the way around to the other side. Let that left hip now come just off of those feet. Get a good stretch into the back of the hip on the other side. Good, bring everything back to the middle, and then you can just bring those ankles apart and those knees apart a little bit, and see if you can drop those hips down in between those legs, so you're going to get a little bit more of a stretch, or you can just stay in the last position if that's more comfortable. Lengthening out through the top of those fingers. Last deep breath in, and breathing out.